Okay, Grandma. When can you tell us where and when you were born?
I was born on Sunday morning, February the 4th, 1917, in Bloomington, Idaho, in my mother's home, the home that I still have up to Bear Lake.
Okay, and how long did you live up there in where you were born?
I lived there till I was a little over 17 when I graduated from college, and I lived there until I went to the Y to school.
Okay, so you went elementary school through
elementary,
high school there.
elementary in Bloomington, and I still lived in Bloomington, but we either walked or rode the bus the 2.5 miles to Paris, and we had a lot more fun walking. The whole group of us would go, and there were about 30 kids from Bloomington that we'd all walk together, and we'd have a lot of fun just walking and visiting together.
So most of the time it was 2.5 miles.
Uh-huh.
And yet, how long would it take you to walk that distance?
Well, we had to be there by 9. We could make it in less than an hour.
And what's the weather like usually up there?
Just like it is here, except we have a little more snow.
Okay. What? How many brothers and sisters do you have?
I have one sister older than me that died when she was born. Her name was Donna. And then I have 3 sisters younger, Rhea, Maxine, and Lavoyle.
Okay. And what did your mom and dad do?
Mom was a homemaker and church worker. I can definitely say that. And Daddy we had 3 big ranches, Flat Hollow, Dry Canyon, and Worm Creek.
Cattle ranches?
Cattle,
Okay. Do you know what kind of cows?
almost mostly red ones.
Herefords, probably.
Some plain red and some with bally faces.
Oh, okay. How many did he have?
How do I know?
A lot, I guess.
He had quite a few.
Oh, okay. How big was your house up there?
It was that little house right over there in the picture, right in the corner. It was
How many rooms?
2 bedrooms, a living room, a kitchen, and a pantry. And there was an outdoor plumbing.
Oh, outdoor plumbing?
There was no plumbing in Bloomington when I was growing up.
Okay, so it was an outhouse then.
They put it in the year I graduated from college and went home to teach.
Oh, they put an indoor plumbing in. Oh, okay.
That's the first. It was in the whole town.
What's
37.
was it heated by a fire during the winter time?
Coal stove.
Coal
Old
stove?
hot blast was in the kitchen.
A hot blast, what's that?
That's the name of the stove.
Oh, okay. And Grandma Great probably cooked on that stove? I mean, they didn't have electricity back then, I assume.
Oh, we had electricity
Oh, you did?
forever.
You what?
We had electricity almost as soon as they got it in.
Oh, also, did your mom cook on over the fire, or did she cook on an electric stove?
We didn't have electric stoves. I don't think electric stoves were invented then.
Oh, okay. That's that. Yeah, that's what I was wondering. So she cooked on over the stove then, a fire stove.
When it was wash day, Daddy would go up the creek and fill up the milk cans with water and bring it home. And he'd put it on the stove at night to warm for it in 2 big boilers.
Uh-huh.
And she'd get up early in the morning. And she always we had no hand wringer at first.
Mm-hmm.
And she'd put the clothes in the washer, then run them through the wringer.
Would the washer? Did she have some type of washer, or did she have to wash by hand?
She had a washer right in.
And what kind of washer? I mean, how did it run? It wasn't electric, was it?
No. No, I think she had a stick that she had to push back and forth.
Ah, okay. Okay. And
It's like the one in the DUP Museum.
can you describe it to us? I'm not sure how that is. Is it just like a big?
It had a big wheel on, And to make the wheel go around, you had to push a stick back and forth. My cough drop ought to soon make me so I'm not quite so squeaky.
And so it was like a big cylinder, I guess, like
Or just like a big wooden tub.
Oh, okay, and that stick would and the
And
wheel
that
would
was
push
on
it
the
back
top
and
of
forth and just
And it was
agitate.
on the lid and it lifted up and pulled back so you could get in the washer.
Oh, okay. And what do they use for soap? I mean, what do they
Well,
make?
they made their soap.
Your parents made their soap?
I've got 2 sacks of it down in the basement.
How did they make it?
Mom saved all the fat she had from the beef and the pork that Daddy killed. What she didn't make into lard, she just saved for soap.
Okay, and how do they use the fat in the soap? What do they mix? How do they? What
They
do they?
would weigh the soap, and there was a recipe on the can of lye that told you how to cook your soap.
Oh, okay.
They built a fire out in the yard because you didn't want all that lye smell in your house. And it had to be a summer day so it was warm and we could be outside to do it.
Okay. So you. Oh.
The tub sat on a couple of bricks that wouldn't burn, and they kept the fire going under it, and they put water and lye and lard in it, and they'd weigh the lard in a bucket on a little pair of hand stillards.
Hand stillards. What are those?
Well, there's a pair up in the house. Frank wants them, but I've got to get to Bear Lake to get them for him.
Oh.
They're just about that long, and they're about that wide, and they have a little hook on the bottom, and you hold it up by your hand with a little ring in the top, and the hook pulls down according to the weight. The numbers of pounds are on the little brass plate in front.
Oh, okay. Okay. So it's kind of like a little hand scale. Oh, okay. How would you guys bathe?
The number 3 tub.
In a number 3 tub? That's just like a big
Just
metal
a big
tub?
aluminum tub.
And you'd heat your water over the fire stove also?
Yes.
Would you heat it in the summertime also, or you just have cold baths in the summertime?
No, we always had it warm.
Oh, okay. And
I got a picture of me in my history when Mom and Daddy carried the tub out with me with soap all over my head, and they took a picture of me. I was so embarrassed about that picture for a long time.
how often would you bathe? Every day, or?
Oh no. You'd wash good every day, but you'd only have a bath Saturday night.
Saturday night?
You had to be ready for church.
Okay. And how far was church?
A block.
Oh, it was just a block, so you could walk there then.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't. I wasn't blessed in the church. The church had burned down a few years before I was born, and they were building the new one that I went to when I was growing up. They dedicated it in 1918, and I was in 17. So they were holding church in the schoolhouse. And that's where I was blessed on April Fool's Day.
April Fool's Day. Okay, we're gonna take a little break and we'll get a glass of water, and we'll start up again. Oh, you already have a glass of water. Okay, Grandma. How big were your classes when you were growing up? How many students were there in each class?
There were always 2 classes in a room. I was with first and second and third. I mean third and fourth, and fifth and sixth, and seventh.
Okay. And how big were those classes generally?
Oh, there wouldn't have been more than 20 of us in 2 grades.
Okay, so probably about 10 per actual grade. All right.
There were only 4 girls in my beehive class, so there weren't too many of us the same age.
And what do you remember? Kind of what was the curriculum basically when you were growing up? Let's say in high school. What was the curriculum?
Will you repeat that?
What classes did you have?
Well, same classes you have now. Algebra, geometry, English every year, PE every year. Then I loved speech, so I took a lot of speech classes. My elementary teachers had made me learn a poem every week, so it was easy for me to memorize.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, when I go to Bear Lake, I start out saying, when I'm alone, I start saying it when I get in the car and I cycle up to Bear Lake.
What, can you repeat a poem for us?
Heavens, no.
Oh.
I don't want to. I could.
You sure you don't want to?
Well, what one do you want?
Whatever one you want to tell us. I don't know which ones you have.
Let's see. Still sits the schoolhouse by the road, the ragged beggar sunning. Around it still the sumac grows, and blackberry vines are running. Within the master's desk is seen, deep scarred by raps official. The battered desks, the warped floor of the battered desks with jackknives carved initial. The fresco drawings on the wall, the doors worn sealed betraying that feet, slow creeping into school, went storming out to playing. One winter's day, the setting sun shone over the setting, lit up the western window panes, and low eaves icy fretting. It touched the tousled golden curls, and brown eyes full of grieving of one who still her steps delayed while all the school was leaving. For near her stood a little boy, her childish favor singled. His cap pulled low up on his face, where pride and joy were mingled. He saw her tiny, with restless foot the snow to left and right he pushed. As restlessly her tiny hands the blue checked apron fingered. He felt her tiny touch, her soft hands, careful touch, her blue eyes full of grieving, her voice turned low as if a fault confessing. I'm sorry that I spelt the word. I hate to go above you, because the voice to lower fell, because you see I love you.
That's really good, Grandma. I'm impressed.
Still memory to a gray-haired man, that sweet child face is showing. Dear girl, the grasses on her grave have 40 years been growing. He lived to learn through life's hard way how few who pass above him lament their sorrow at his loss, like her, because they love him.
I didn't realize you weren't through. That's really good. Wow. Do you think about that quite a bit? Is that how come you still remember it, or?
If I can't go sleep nights.
Oh, is that what it is?
Son.
Oh, really? Wow.
The last thing I had memorized is 89th section.
Oh, really?
Word of wisdom.
So you have the word of wisdom memorized too?
Yes, but I don't believe I've got it down pat enough.
Wow.
I always kind of struggle over where to put that verse of things that grow in the ground and above the ground.
That's great.
Because it doesn't come right beside where it says all herbs are great. It puts the animals in between, and I kind of struggle right there.
Well, do you have a photographic memory? Do you think?
No, I think I just don't have memorize.
Oh, okay. Wow.
But when you learn the poem every week of all your school days, you learn it.
So you, every week in elementary school clear through high school? Wow. That's good. So when you said speech was your favorite class, right? Is that what you said?
It was one of my favorite classes.
Was that like speech and drama? type thing, or what?
Well, they were dramatic readings you had to learn.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Like, oh, east is east and west is west, and ever the joints will meet, till earth and sky stand presently at God's great judgment seat. But there is neither east nor west, border nor breed nor birth, when two strong men stand face to face, though they come from the ends of the earth. You know, it's long, several pages, but it's.
Wow.
I just enjoy them.
Well, what were some current events that stand out in your mind when you were growing up?
I had one fight in my life, and I decided that was it.
Do you remember what it was about?
I sure do. Herbert Hoover and Al Smith were running for president. I can't remember that year, but a girl friend, Merle Welker, came to me and she said, "You like Hoover?" And I said, "Yes, I do." And she said, "I don't." And I said, "Oh, that's just because your dad and brothers want 3-2 beer so they can get drunk." And we stood under the schoolhouse window and we slugged it out and pulled hair and slapped each other. And
Was that during?
elementary.
Did that have something to do with what they call it, prohibition? Because you
Well, there
said
was
something.
prohibition on, but they would. Al Smith was going to legalize 3-2 beer.
3-2. What's that?
That's that much alcohol in beer.
Oh, okay. So prohibition was already in effect when you were growing up.
But you know, I've lived a long time, Skip. World War I started after I was born.
Do you remember any of that?
One of the first words I learned to say, "That's General John Joseph Pershing." Mama had a picture of him up above the buffet.
Oh, really?
He was the general, American general.
So he was a pretty big hero, I take it. I mean, because he was up in your house.
And Uncle Stan went to war and left Aunt Zina home.
That was during World War One. Okay.
And that's Todd Mooney's grandpa, Dr. Mooney.
Oh, okay. All right. Let's see. Any? Excuse me. Any other current events that you remember growing up?
I remember that they discovered Pluto when I was in high school.
Oh, really? Wow. What? Let's see. You didn't. When did radio come out? Do you remember?
I remember when we got radio. I was in about 4th grade. And the minute school was out, I would run home. Because Shandu the Magician was it on. And we'd all run home to sit around and listen to Shandu.
The Magician, wow. Would your parents listen to the news on the radio also?
Yes.
What?
And we listened to Sherlock Holmes and One Man's Family and Amos and Andy.
Huh. What? Before what? How old were you when the radio came out?
When what?
How old were you when radio was invented?
Well, I'd have been about 8 years old, I guess.
8 years? Before it came out, do you remember how long it would take for the newspaper to get the news out? Do you understand what I'm saying? I mean, with TV now, it's almost instantaneously that everybody knows when something happens. But back then, how long would it take for?
Oh, it would have been quite a while.
Do you know about how long approximately?
I would have no idea.
Okay. Did you see the telegraph? Did you see any telegraphs working?
There was a telegraph in Paris and in Montpelier.
You know, if somebody
You know, Bear Lake's a little valley, and there are just little towns in it. There are about 40 towns.
Mm-hmm.
If you come in at Lake Town at the south end, there's Lake Town and Pickleville and Garden City and Lakota and Fish Haven and St. Charles. And then you come to my Bloomington, and then on to Paris. And then there's this road that takes off to the west. And you go through Ovid and Lanark and Liberty and Sharon. And then you come back. And there's another one that takes off to Bern. And then on the way, there's one that goes off to Dingle. And then to Montpelier. And to Raymond and Geneva and P. Graham and Nownan. and Bennington and Georgetown. That isn't all of them, but that's most of them.
And all these little towns, they all went to the same school?
No.
Oh.
There's a high school in Montpelier and one in Paris.
Oh.
Garden City and Lake Town were in Rich County, and they had a high school of their own. But Fish Haven came to our school, and the bus picked up kids from all of that middle region
Mm-hmm.
and brought it to Paris.
Wow. Do you remember when the car came out, or was it already